temple walls, it will be lined with sandstone. However, these blocks are even larger, and workers have to line both the inside and outside perimeters with a beautiful stone, transported from the Kulin Hills, then moved into place.
So you can imagine the amount of effort and energy that would have been involved in bringing these enormous stones down from such a distance down to the edge of this moat. It really is truly one of the most amazing engineering feats in human history.
From the moat to the roof, the Khmer used sandstone everywhere. The famous corbelling now visible on the insides of the temple is topped on the outside by these interlocking roof stones. Modern-day restoration work reveals how the Khmer tailored their roofing techniques to the monsoon climate, where water posed an ongoing threat to the structure's survival.
Alright, let's have a look.
Previous attempts to renovate show the dangers of applying Western methods of construction to such a resolutely Eastern building. Back in the 1980s, after a major restoration to the temple, the roof stones were re-erected and then sealed together with cement to keep the rains out. Unfortunately, that solution caused the corrosive chemicals in the cement to bleed into the temple, threatening some of its famous bas-reliefs. The most important of which is the great tableau known as the Churning of the Sea of Milk. In it, the gods and the demons vie for immortality, each side tugging at the end of a serpent wrapped around a mountain. At the center is Vishnu, protector of Surya Varman. By pulling for 1,000 years, the gods and demons rotate the mountain, stirring up the elixir of life from the bottom of the ocean. The action creates the Apsaras, who occupy the upper sections of the relief.
So this great tableau is presented within one gallery that is arguably the finest work of ancient Khmer sculpture. The problem is that the roof system over this precious bas-relief leaks, carrying with it damaging salts and water and light and biological growth and the like.
A more holistic approach now studies how the original roof stones were designed to function. Conservationist Long Neri describes the internal drainage system built within the roof to whisk water away from the structure.
If the water still infiltrates from the joint, open joint anyhow, the water will not run directly into the inside structure, but it will run through this small channel out from the building.
The cement filled the narrow channels, and cracks formed, causing leaks. They had a major problem on their hands. A restoration is now underway. The roof stones are being removed and lowered to the ground. They show evidence of scaling and salts damage. At nearby workstations, the stones are individually cleaned and the faulty mortar removed, restoring the original channels. Repairs are made, and the stone itself sealed to protect it from the elements. Eventually, the stones will be lifted back into place. A fitting legacy to the brilliance of Khmer building techniques, which has lasted for centuries. For almost 900 years, thousands of stones that make up the great temple of Angkor Wat have remained in perfect alignment, protecting the integrity of its bas-reliefs and other carvings. These carvings are intended to provide Surya Varman with an entourage in the afterlife. But Surya Varman is growing old. Will he live long enough to see his grand vision complete? If he does not, he will lose his chance at heaven. Surya Varman's builders race against time to finish the temple before his death. However, there is evidence to suggest that they were not fully successful. These incomplete bas-reliefs reveal that the project was not fully completed. A Charles Hyam does believe that the temple performed its ultimate function and was ready to receive Surya Varman's ashes after his death.
When the king died, he would have been cremated, he would have been turned into ashes, but he was still alive. He had a new name, Paramavishnu Loka, he who has gone to live with Vishnu.
He points to evidence of the burial process, intended to turn the king into a living god, found on the site.
And so the ashes were placed in a great stone casket. Some of those stone caskets have survived. One of them was actually found here, but it was in the wrong place. It had been moved. And so when the ashes in the stone casket were placed, dead center under the central tower, then, as they say, the statue of Vishnu, the god king, represented in stone, eyes were opened, and the king lived.
Surya Varman may have been safely buried, but the very system that allowed him to build Angkor Wat and its amazing hydraulic city may have contained the seeds of the Khmer Empire's doom. Angkor's vaunted water systems, its canals and reservoirs and irrigation channels, grew more complex to support the sprawling megacity. Huge tracts of land had been clear-cut for temples, homes, and farming, allowing silt to build up on the canals and reservoirs during the rainy season. With a growing populace and deforestation stretching the jungle's resources, massive engineering suddenly gave way to over-engineering.
As we see the system becoming more and more complex, we start to see evidence of adaptations, people trying to patch things up, the system becoming more and more complex and unworkable.
Overwhelmed by such a high-maintenance water system, food production and transportation may have gradually started to fail. The Khmer's brilliantly constructed system reached a breaking point.
My own theory is that, like so many other civilizations, it got to be so wealthy and so grand and so complicated that it became irresistible as a target for others. And eventually, through these ripe conditions, kings and rulers came along that just couldn't hold it all together. And after successive attempts, perhaps, by neighboring cultures, eventually it was taken over.
In 1431, the city of Angkor was sacked by Thai invaders, and the Khmer king abandoned the site the next year. The jungle and swamp reclaimed its wooden homes and palaces, its sophisticated waterways clogged with silt and weeds. The city was lost, but the temple has stood the test of time, even though during the 15th century it was converted to a Buddhist shrine.
Angkor Wat was never abandoned, and perhaps because of its extraordinary presence, its size, its grandeur, it naturally attracted people to use it. And that use changed over the years, but there were always people in it, they were always praying, they were always using it.
Having built a celestial home for their king in his afterlife, the work of Surya Varman's engineers continues to create awe. 1 million visitors travel to the site each year, often just as inspired as the experts.
Every time I come back to Angkor, I feel an even greater sense of awe and amazement at the conception, at the scale, at the marvelous architecture, at the remarkable reliefs that surround it, and of course, like a great gnarled old tooth, that central tower there looks out serenely over the jungle around us. It is just absolutely amazing.
It continues to be as Surya Varman II intended. One of the largest and most awe-inspiring religious monuments ever built. Angkor Wat.